Today we want to talk about how technology is transforming the lives of our wounded veterans. It's not very well known, but Oakley does a lot of work in the military world. In good and bad, you get to know some really great people, and unfortunately over time, when you've been at war as long as we have, you know, some of those guys or girls come home a little bit different than they left, or they didn't come home at all. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, and certainly am honored to serve that community. As much as I sometimes pains me to be part of it, to be emotionally drained by it, we also get to know really great people. And today we have one of those great people. He's got about 5,000 hours of flight time. 1,200 of that was in combat. He was severely injured in a helicopter crash. Infinite Hero was able to fund what's called a new technology that enabled him to walk again. It's an exoskeleton, a powered exoskeleton. A group of us got to walk around the Statue of Liberty on Veterans Day with Gary Linfoot, retired Chief Warrant Officer, U.S. Army. And so today I'd like to have Gary come into the room and show you what this technology has done for him in his life.
Some of the things that go through your mind, you know, am I ever going to walk? It's hard to put into words what it feels like to stand back up and walk again. In your day-to-day life, you maybe don't appreciate those little things, and then when it's taken away from you, you really miss it. When I got that back, there was a sense of accomplishment, sense of independence. I see it as the future to opening up those doors, getting people back out in the world and doing things that they were able to do once before.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Means a lot. My name is Gary Linfoot, and this is the exoskeleton, and I'm very excited and honored to be able to demonstrate this device and this technology to y'all. A little bit about my story. I am a U.S. Army veteran. I was a helicopter pilot with the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. And it was on my 19th rotation to Iraq where I had a little encounter with gravity, where I proved that gravity was in fact a rule and not just a theory. Anyway, I had a hard landing in Iraq. Came home a different man from when I went over there. I came back paralyzed, and you know, they say, hey, you're never gonna walk again, and that became a reality for us. Not for just myself, but my family and our friends. And I guess I always knew there was going to be something else out there. I didn't know what it was going to be or when it was going to come, but I knew. I just had that feeling that something would come along. And as time went on, I was very fortunate, really. I was the recipient of devices that helped me with my mobility, advanced robotic devices like the iBot wheelchair, which you'll hear about later on today. And it was about 4 years after my accident, 4 years in the chair, when we had the opportunity to get up in an exoskeleton. And first time standing up again after being in the chair for 4 years was really quite amazing. When I first stood up in it, I really didn't realize the magnitude of what was going on. I was more concentrated on standing up and walking in the device. But Mary, who was right there with me, she got it all just like that. She knew what a big deal this was. And then when my kids had the opportunity to see me stand and walk again, for the first time in 4 years, after being told that, your dad's never going to walk again, they were just floored by it. So I had the opportunity to get up in the exoskeleton, but it was, this technology isn't cheap. It's very expensive. And I thought, well, that's cool. Got to walk, but it's something that I'm not going to be able to use on a daily basis for quite some time because it was just out of our reach. And that's where the Air Power Foundation of Fort Worth, they stepped in, and they requested a grant from the Infinite Hero Foundation, who stepped up to the plate and funded the purchase of an exoskeleton to be given to me for home use. So now we have this at home, and we get up in the exoskeleton and we walk in it at least 5 days a week, an hour a day. And it just is truly amazing to be a part of this. And hopefully the data and feedback they get from us is going to be used to help improve the device and hopefully ultimately, get more people into it, get this technology out there to anybody really that could benefit from it. And that is what the ultimate goal is. And I'm glad that we have organizations like Infinite Hero Foundation that are making this happen, and excellent companies like Ekso Bionics that are really the tip of the spear in this type of innovation.
So there's amazing things going on in the field. Standing in front of you is one of them. And it's becoming a real business. Ekso Bionics, which made this Gary's exoskeleton, is actually a public company. Other companies are preparing to go public as well. The market itself for prostheses and exoskeletons could become more than $1 billion, close to $2 billion in about 4 or 5 years. But lots of questions remain, obviously. The cost, power issue, batteries, how do we bring the cost down? How do we fight infection for truly integrated solutions? How do we get insurance companies to cover it? How do we improve the cosmetic appearance, which matters more than people think? With that, I'll bring up Russ Angold. Come on up.
So first off, I'd like to say thank you to Infinite Hero for putting this event together. I mean, it's amazing to see this much horsepower all in one room, all with the same common goal of figuring out how to help those 1%ers or less than 1%ers that have sacrificed so much for us. So what is an exoskeleton? Today, I love this cartoon. We're on either ends of the spectrum, right? Everyone knows of the Iron Man exoskeleton, Tony Stark flying around, and then this is Gary here on the left, except you're taller in the Ekso. But back in 2000, when we started working on this stuff as part of a DARPA program, exoskeletons were, like Bruce said, science fiction. That's what DARPA funds. And so this exoskeleton that you see behind you is the Bleeks exoskeleton. It's the world's first untethered powered exoskeleton. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records. And for me, I saw this video in 2004 when Nathan, the co-founder and CEO, showed me the video. Said, Russ, we're working on this exoskeleton. We need your help. We're going to make the next generation one. And he showed me the video, and I saw it, and I was like, man, this is the future. I quit my job. I moved up there the next day up to Berkeley where they were working on it, and dove in head first. And the reason I did it was because of my brother. So my brother was a Navy SEAL. He went through the Naval Academy, 97 grad, ended up at Naval Special Warfare Development Group, got a Bronze Star from Afghanistan. And we had made a deal when we were kids. I said, you go be a Navy SEAL, I'll be an engineer, and someday I'll make you cool stuff. That was literally the deal. And so when Nate showed me the video, I was like, man, this is perfect. So I dive in head first, get there week one. I show my brother the video. I probably should have showed it to him before I took the job, but I show him the video, and he's active now, and he's like, we're never going to use that thing. It's too heavy. It's too loud. It's too slow. I mean, he told me all the reasons why it wasn't going to work. He basically was a self-licking ice cream cone. And so I said, okay, well, I have a year. We're going to fix it, right? We got a year. We're going to make it better. And so started putting my mind to that. And then 2 weeks later, I got the call. My brother had an accident, and he unfortunately broke his neck. And so I'm flying across the country. This is his picture. He is a C6, C7, same injury as Christopher Reeve. So I'm flying across the country thinking, okay, well, we can take this technology. We can make exoskeletons to help people walk again. No problem. So I get to the hospital the next morning, run in there. I'm like, brother, don't worry. We're going to get you walking again. And he's like, I can walk just fine. I just can't move my arms. And so it was really my first exposure to a spinal cord injury. And it was interesting. I got to watch as my brother recovered, and I'm happy to say he's fully recovered. And the thought stuck in our heads is, how do you do that if you've lost the ability to walk? Even if you have 10%, or if you're a stroke patient that's lost the use of one of their legs, how do you get up and do that level of rehab without that exoskeleton? And so what we really wanted to do was make an exoskeleton that you could use as a tool. So as you got stronger, it could get weaker, and eventually you could walk out of it. That's really the vision. I want to give you guys a little history on exoskeletons. It's not a new idea. Here's some patents dating back to 1890 for load carriage. So people have been thinking about this for a while. The first real commercial push on this was GE. They made what they call Hardyman, that you can see behind you. So they invested a lot of money. This thing was a big hydraulic exoskeleton, but no one had the guts to get in it and turn it on. It was just too big and too scary. So they didn't do it. And you can see it's kind of big and bulky, and the technology just wasn't quite ready. Then this interesting thing happens. In 2000, DARPA funds that science fiction because they start seeing that the technology is starting to converge to make this stuff possible. And you start seeing the exoskeletons pop up. First with Bleeks, then you had the Sarcos, and then other versions and systems out there. You got Rewalk, you got Indigo, you have Rex Bionics, all these exoskeleton companies, all this stuff coming together, all this energy and investment in the technology. And really what enabled that was, the computer industry technology. So CPUs, batteries, sensors, all that stuff is enabling these devices to not be that Hardyman device in 1960, that huge unwieldy thing. And so really in 2004, I think that's really the tipping point when the impractical barrier was broken. That's when we broke through and said, okay, we can make these things untethered. There's some applications. And so there's a lot of applications for exoskeletons. Today we're talking mostly about the healthcare, but there's exoskeleton applications today. I mean, we're actively working on applications for the military with the Hulk exoskeleton. We're working with SOCOM on the Talus program, trying to protect our warfighters. Warrior Web, we're right now, today, testing at Aberdeen Proving Ground, having soldiers run around on a 3-mile loop with an exoskeleton that's all geared to enhance their mobility. On the industrial front, the Navy's now investing in the Fortis exoskeleton, which basically, you can see the guy there. These guys are wearing these exoskeletons and just getting exhausted trying to do grinding work and other tasks in the shipyards. And so the exoskeletons that they can wear augment them and basically provide them long endurance, right? They don't get hurt. And that's what it's all about. Exoskeletons are all about protecting the user and enabling them to be better than they are. So today, we're focused on healthcare as a company. That's what most people see outside or if they go to our website. So spinal cord injury. We also look at stroke and TVA. We look at TBI and applications for exoskeleton. Basically, any gait impairment, you can use the exoskeleton and it can adjust for what that individual needs. So since February 14th of 2012, when we first launched, we've had over 3,000 individuals in our exoskeletons, and collectively, they've taken more than 11.5 million steps. And Gary's actually contributed 175,000 of those. So we track all the... Yeah. So to put that in perspective, that's basically walking from here to DC in exoskeleton. So we're pretty excited about it. But at the same time, we realize, I like to use the cell phone analogy. We're only here on the spectrum, right? We're right about here. We're out of the car. We've unplugged from the lighter. We don't have the suitcase phone. We're just past the Gordon Gekko cell phone. And we're starting to see real applications. You're starting to see home use. You're starting to see more applications out there. And the exciting thing for me from a technology perspective is where this can go. I mean, again, driven by mobile phones and all the investment that everybody else is putting into those technologies, we can leverage that and really advance the field of bionics. So with that, I'll leave you. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning. Nice to talk to you all. It's amazing to see the things that people are pushing on. One of the things we always say at DEKA, we work on a lot of medical products, is that everything we work on, we can't wait for it to be obsolete. And you've heard a lot about people who are, just because we want something to be better, obviously. You've heard a lot of people talking about the other advances that are moving forward here. I titled this Restoring Independence. I think you could title it Restoring Dignity. I think when we talked a lot yesterday about helping people heal their minds, I think a lot of what we're talking about here is a big piece of that and about what people push forward on. I'll talk first about the iBot. This is a device that actually was commercialized back in 2004. And people say, oh, it's a wheelchair. And the reason people get iBot is exactly for when it's not a wheelchair. It's for when it's something that lets you do things wheelchairs can't do. When it lets you climb stairs, when it lets you get up in balance mode. You see a picture up there of Congresswoman Langevin in the halls of Congress using an iBot. When it lets you go places that a wheelchair just can't get to. When it lets you really get your independence back and get back to your life. And I think that's a critical thing. I can show some great videos of it. If you ever want to see YouTube iBot firing range, and you'll see some fun stuff there. But frankly, we have Raul here. I'll ask you to talk about it for a second.
I'd like to thank and give a great salute to Gary Linfoot, who I've been following from afar for a while for all your work as a guinea pig and all the other guineas that are out there, because I know exactly what it takes to do that. And it's remarkable that you do it, and how well you do it is beyond belief. So thank you for that for sure. As far as the iBot goes, I saw a young man who survived a parachuting accident, having been an airborne guy in the Army. This guy, his chute never opened, but he survived to talk about it, and he was in an iBot. And when I first saw him, I was like, whoa, how does that work? And he showed me, and then I immediately went and got it. I'm in the international shipping business, so I have offices all around the world. And believe me when I tell you that the other countries in the world don't have an American Disabilities Act, have never heard of a curb cut, have no idea how any of this stuff could work for somebody else. In fact, they're always in amazement even when they see me going down the streets. But were it not for the iBot, I couldn't do my job. So it's as simple as that. I like to tell pilots, like Gary, but mostly airline guys, you know, do you panic? And they always look at me like, why are you asking that? And I tell them, well, because I don't want you to panic when I do this. And then I always go, ah! And they go, no. So that's how that, you know, it freaks them out. And the level of independence that the iBot gives you is one thing, but then the mental part that Stewart just mentioned is a whole nother thing. And I'm in a lot of networking events, I'm in a lot of cocktail parties or things like that, and I can look people in the eye and not have them look down on me. And that's a huge thing. In fact, I told the President of the United States that we had to do this and get the FDA changed to a class 2 medical device instead of class 3 and all this stuff. And he asked me, why do you think it's important? And I said, aren't you tired of looking down on people who gave us everything? And then he was like, okay, whatever it takes. So anyway. I told Stewart I was going to steal a minute from him. I'm probably on my second minute, but I want you to know that he made a very important comment a minute ago that he can't wait for all this stuff to be yesterday's news. And I can tell you that I'm very, very active with the Reeve Foundation and Miami Project, all these people. It's not going to be oh so long, and I think we're going to need, you know, the exoskeleton and the iBot and everything for the transition period for sure. But I'm confident for the first time in my life, day before yesterday was my 12th anniversary in chair, that in my lifetime, we're going to get out of here.
Absolutely. So he's showing all the cool stuff. Now I just get to talk a little bit. The iBot, as I said, has been around for a while. It's been something that gives people the chance to do things like be up at eye level. You know, you can find all sorts of great stuff. It's, oh, let's go out on it's a ski slope. Why shouldn't we take our iBot out on it? All sorts of fun stuff like that. But you know, it really gives you a chance to get back to the life you had before. You know, I have a little trick for you. This is Paralyzed Veterans of America group, and try to find the iBot. It's obviously a trick question. He's the one who's standing up. And so now you've got someone who doesn't have to be down at what I think even you guys would call butt level at times, and gives you the chance to sort of say, okay, now I can get back, I can do things the way I want to do them. And I'm looking forward to the day when they're actually walking, but if not, if someone wants to get down the aisle at eye level with their bride, we're gonna do everything we can to help them do that. And so this is a huge, huge step. This is a big thing. And one of the things I want to talk about, I'm not just going to come here and say, hey, everything's great, because frankly, I'm going to say, this is a stage now where we are working to get it commercialized. The iBot is not commercially available right now. J&J did a great job of pushing it for many years, but it's not available. We couldn't get the reimbursement set up the way it needed to be. And when you talk to people about developing technology, I'm not going to say it's not a hard problem, but I'm going to say we got 500 people at DEKA working on solving that hard problem. There's another step here where there's a big valley between I've got really good prototypes to it's actually in production. And getting through that valley is something hard. And it takes a lot of people, and frankly, it takes people to step up and say, we're going to invest to get the ball past that point. And that's a lot of what, as we look forward, we're looking for how do we push this process so we don't hit this, okay, we got this far, now we have this gap we have to push through to get forward, and how we keep that moving forward. Thank you.